the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob in 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Our next guest is brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. He covers the Utah Hockey Club for KSLSports.com, and he has a fancy open. Let's hit it.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Joining us live from Seattle, might I add. What's going on, Cole?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're doing terrific. Excited for this game tonight. I thought that was a nice win, a big win over the Ducks, who have been a bully for the Utah Hockey Club so far this year. And I thought they just responded well. I thought when it got tied up, they didn't get rattled, which has been something they've done in the past. So I thought that was a big win to build some momentum over these final, 15, 16 games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that was a demonstration, I think, of all the growth that the Utah Hockey Club has experienced this year. Like you mentioned, being able to roll with the punches. Up 2-0 in a game, and to give up 2 goals earlier in the year, that's a game they probably end up losing. That was a situation that they did lose against the Ducks, I want to say in December. They were up 4-1 in the third period, ended up losing 5-4 in overtime. And so, it was a good game of growth to show that they're coming along. They're figuring out how to win hockey games. They're figuring out how to respond when, teams, fight back. Because it's playoff. It's playoff time right now for a lot of these organizations, the Ducks included. They've been playing, arguably their best hockey of the year leading up to the game with Utah. And that was a game that they wanted as well to continue to close the gap for themselves. But, Utah was able to get it done. Dylan Gunther, individual brilliance as always from his office on the left faceoff circle to give Utah that 3-2 win, and then they closed it out. So, every game is as important as ever. That was the biggest game of the season, and now we're going to transition to tonight, which is also the biggest game of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how they can perform on the road here.
I brought this up yesterday, Cole, but you X'd out a tweet snap that I thought was really interesting the other day, talking about the third line and how much better that has been since they've gotten healthy and kind of found the right combo. And I thought it was really insightful. So explain what is working and why that is so impactful.
Yeah, it's been a year of a lot of shifting around on the lines. With the amount of injuries that they sustained, they lost Cooley for a while, they lost Gunther for a while. A couple other guys have struggled, and so they've had to move things around a lot. But I think right now the third line is as good as it's been all year, and I think a lot of it has to do with the style and the guys that are on it. That is their biggest line. I believe Krause is 6'4", McBain 6'3", and Josh Stone 6'1". I was speaking with Josh Stone about it not last week, but the week before, and he said that he has arguably learned more playing on this line with McBain and Krause than any other line he's ever played in during his career. Not just professionally, but throughout his entire hockey career. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they play just smash mouth, in your face, physical, relentless, suffocating hockey. That's a line that opposing teams are circling and going, this is not a line that we want to play against, because, with their size, with their physicality, they cover the entire ice. And it's just a really good combo because every single guy is physical. And then, when you break it down a little bit further, Josh Stone is very good on the puck. He battles in the dirty areas. He's got really, really good. He's got a relentless motor. That guy will fight for any loose puck, in any position on the ice. And he's also very good at facilitating, as we've been able to see, and he can score. Then you move over to Lawson Krause, and he's the veteran presence on that line. He's been in the NHL for quite a while, and he makes a lot of high IQ plays. And I think for Krause, it's also lifted his confidence. This is a guy that was down about 50 to 60% in terms of production year over year. now he's gotten back on track. He's playing his best hockey of the season because the other two just complement him. And then McBain he's just a brute. He's a guy that goes at the net, that crashes the net hard, and he had that beautiful tip-in goal the other night. So yeah, this line is just so well crafted, and you need a line like that on your team that's going to go out, that's going to put pressure on the opposition, and that's going to create turnovers. And I think that Utah has really found something here, and that's a line that needs to stick together, and I would anticipate they will. And I think it's a big part of why Utah is having so much success right now is because you've got your best playmakers on the top line. You've got some of your best goal scorers on the second line, and then you've got your brutes on the third line, and then, rounded out by the fourth.
Cole, this might be a little bit abstract, so if it's not something you're as comfortable talking about, you can let me know. But the Kraken are an interesting case to study for the Utah Hockey Club. They're 4 years old. There was a ton of excitement when they moved there, of course, just like Utah has for the Utah Hockey Club. Their second year, they make the playoffs. It feels like it's going to be easy, and then their last 2 years have been really disappointing, and my understanding is the interest is starting to wane in the team already. Seattle is certainly different than Salt Lake when it comes to sports. They've already lost a major sports franchise, but I'll be curious, A, what the crowd looks like tonight, and B, what you've heard about the team and kind of where they are in the standing in the NHL as a relatively new roster.
Yeah, they took an interesting approach, when they expanded here in Seattle. Very different compared to, what the Vegas Golden Knights were able to do right off the bat. When Vegas came into the NHL, they struck absolute gold with their roster construction in terms of an expansion team. There were a lot of players, and how the expansion works is you're able to only protect so many players. You're able to. I don't remember exactly how many it is in terms of forwards and defensemen, but I believe it's just one or two goaltenders. And so the expansion team can then go and pull, some really good players. And Vegas was able to build a championship team literally in year one. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals, and hockey just exploded in Las Vegas because of that roster construction. Seattle came in at a more difficult time. I think teams learned from that Vegas experience in terms of who they needed to protect, and not as many guys were available. And they took a different approach that they were public, that they were on record saying, hey, we're looking at this a little bit different perspective. We're looking to kind of grow a hockey team. We're looking to, get some younger guys that we can develop and compete later on. And they just kind of, it's been kind of a swing and a miss for Seattle. I think, several of those guys that they drafted, they've traded, they've sent down to the AHL, and they just have not been able to really compete. And I think that's, weighed on the support of the city. I can't speak for how much interest there is in hockey in Seattle, but yeah, I've heard similar things that the support is kind of starting to fall off a little bit. I have heard that it's still an incredible environment, though. That it's one of the better ones in the NHL. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that's all about tonight, and definitely take some videos and post them on X. But yeah, it's a different situation in Seattle, and they're definitely an organization that I think is wondering what they need to do with themselves to become competitive again.
So I'm asking you to predict the future a little bit, which is not fair, but do you think Utah's infrastructure is set up better to not have that type of drop-off, both talent-wise and interest-wise?
Yeah, I think in terms of talent, I was having a conversation the other day about how, I don't know if there's really a team in the NHL aside from accepting overnight a Stanley Cup champion squad that's better prepared for the future than, the Coyotes were coming to Utah. And the reason I say that is this is a team that is so talented and young that can grow with the state, guys like Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther, even Clayton Keller and Mikhail Sergachev are relatively young, and and the prospects that they have coming up through their pipeline, TJ Ginla, Kobo Dwan, Simashev, Daniil Boat. This is a team that is so good and has so much potential, and so they can just grow with the state, right? People are already falling in love with Guenther and Cooley, and I think the relationship that the fans already have with Karel Vejmelka is really special, and he signed a 5-year contract. And so in terms of talent, this team is beautifully constructed. They're already competitive. Now that they're healthy, I think fans are really starting to see the brilliance of what Bill Armstrong has done in constructing this roster. It's a very good combination and collection of veterans that have won Stanley Cups. That's why he went and brought in the Ian Coles and the Stenlunds and, Bortuzos and all those guys is to help bring in that championship mentality, the Sergachev. But as well, he's done so well in the draft. And then, the guys that have been developing in the system for years, like Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz and whatnot, it's so well prepared for the future. And I think, I saw a video the other day, it was a shot of the game against Anaheim, and the caption was, just a random Wednesday in Salt Lake City. And it was a jam-packed barn the other night. They had the rally towels going, and hockey has just been a perfect match for Utah and Salt Lake City, and this team is built to be competitive. And so I think, when you consider all those things, I don't see a drop-off like Seattle.
Cole, we appreciate you and all of your fine work, and thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Cole.